3 days before my wedding, my father called and said 6 words I will never forget. I'm not walking you down. I was in my flower workshop trimming roses for the centerpieces, soil under my nails, my wedding dress hanging in the next room. I thought someone had died. Then he said, Vanessa says it would upset her. Vanessa, my sister, the woman who had already taken every birthday, every graduation dinner, every family holiday, and somehow still needed my aisle too. I asked one question. Did she threaten you with the kids again? He went silent. That was the answer. 2 days later, 200 guests would turn around when the barn doors opened. My father thought I would walk alone. My mother thought I would be embarrassed. Vanessa thought she had won. But the man standing beside me was the one person they never saw coming. And before the night was over, my grandmother's letter would expose the truth my family had been hiding for 11 years. Welcome back to Velora Stories. My name is Darcy Ingram. I am 32 years old. And this is how my father abandoned me 3 days before my wedding. My sister tried to make my aisle about herself, and a carpenter with sawdust on his sleeves showed everyone what family actually means. I grew up in Ridgewood, Connecticut. My sister Vanessa was 3 years older, beautiful, polished, and always centered. She was the girl my parents introduced first. This is Vanessa. She is going to be a lawyer. I was the girl with dirt on her knees. At 14, I built a greenhouse in our backyard from scrap wood, plastic sheets, and an old cabinet hinge. It was ugly, crooked, but by August, it grew tomatoes the size of my fist. That same year, my school science fair was on the same Saturday as Vanessa's spelling bee. My greenhouse project won first place. My father arrived 30 minutes late. The judges were already stacking chairs. He looked at the blue ribbon and said, "Good job, kiddo." Then checked his phone. Vanessa had placed third. They took her to dinner. I kept the ribbon in a drawer. Not because I was proud, because even then I understood the rule. If Vanessa lost, the house mourned. If I won, someone said, "Good job," and moved on. My mother hated that greenhouse. She called it an eyesore, but it kept growing tomatoes every summer whether anyone noticed or not. That became the first lesson I trusted. Some things grow without applause. When I graduated high school, Vanessa got into Columbia's MBA program the same week. My parents combined the celebrations into one dinner. 3 speeches were given. All 3 were about Vanessa. No one mentioned my diploma. No one mentioned my acceptance to the University of Connecticut's horticulture program. Later, when I told my mother I wanted to build a landscaping and greenhouse design business, she looked at me over her coffee and said, "That is not a real career, Darcy." 5 words. Not a real career. I carried them into college, into my first job, into every client meeting, and eventually into the business license I signed with my own name. By 29, I owned Ingram Botanical Design, small at first, then Public Gardens, the Ridgewood Library Garden, the courthouse grounds, a sensory garden for children in therapy. People in town started knowing my work before they knew my face. My parents still called it Darcy's little garden business. Vanessa married Preston Hale 3 years after Columbia. Investment banking, expensive suit, perfect smile. Then she had children. Lily first, then Owen. And those children became the lever Vanessa used for everything. Christmas seating, family photos, vacations, my father's weekends. If Vanessa wanted something, she said, "Fine, then maybe the kids won't come." And my father folded. Every time. He loved those grandchildren. But Vanessa knew love could become a leash if you pulled it hard enough. I met Marcus Delaney on a Tuesday in April. I was planting a rain garden for a county drainage project. He was the structural engineer working on the bridge nearby. He saw me dragging a bare root tree out of my truck and walked over. "Need a hand?" "I've got it." "I know," he said. "But my coffee is done and I'm bored." That was the first sentence Marcus ever said to me that was not about drainage grades. 2 weeks later, he introduced me to his father, Frank Delaney, 63, retired carpenter, hands like leather, a workshop that smelled like cedar, sawdust, and coffee. Frank called me kiddo by week 3. By month 2, he had built me a white oak bookshelf for my workshop. Inside the left panel, hidden unless you knew where to look, he carved my initials, D.I. The first time he visited my greenhouse, he looked around and said, "You got dirt under your nails. Good. Means you built something today." Nobody in my family had ever said anything like that to me. Marcus proposed in the botanical garden I designed for the Ridgewood Public Library. October evening, Japanese maples turning dark red. He knelt beside the stone bench I had installed 2 summers earlier. I said yes before he finished asking. That night, I called my parents. My father said, "Congratulations." Not, "I'm happy for you." Not, "Tell me everything." Just the word you say when a coworker gets promoted. My mother took the phone and asked, "Is he from a good family?" Not if I was happy. Not if I loved him. If he was from a good family. I asked my father to walk me down the aisle 6 months later. He said yes quickly. Too quickly. Marcus heard the call. After I hung up, he put his hand over mine. "You know who they are, Darce." "I know, but I want to give them one more chance." He nodded. Marcus never told me what to do with my family. He just made sure I had somewhere soft to land afterward. Then came the Tuesday call. 3 days before the wedding. I was trimming roses in the workshop, 14 centerpieces, each one hand-tied. My phone lit up. Dad. I answered with my elbow. He sounded like he was reading from a card. "Darcy, I need to tell you something." "What happened?" "I'm not going to walk you down the aisle." The pruning shears were still in my hand. I set them down slowly. "Why?" "Vanessa says it would upset her." "My wedding would upset Vanessa?" "Her marriage is going through a rough patch, you know that." I did know. Everyone knew. Preston had been sleeping in his office for months. Vanessa kept posting family pictures like captions could repair a marriage. But this was my wedding. "So my aisle is about Vanessa?" Silence. "Did she threaten you with the kids again?" A long pause. Then, "She said if I walked you, she would not bring Lily and Owen to Christmas." There it was. A daughter traded for a holiday. And my father chose the holiday. I did not yell. I did not cry. I said, "Okay," then hung up. 10 minutes later, my mother called. "Right on schedule." "Your father told you?" "Yes." "Darcy, don't make this bigger than it is. Lots of modern brides walk alone. It's actually quite empowering." She said empowering like she was reading a brochure. I asked him a year ago. "Things change." "My wedding didn't." "Your sister is hurting." "And I'm not?" Silence. Then she said, "You have Marcus. Vanessa has no one." I looked at the roses in front of me, the flowers I had grown, cut, arranged, paid for, and I said, "You're right. This is not the hill." She paused. "I am?" "Yes. This is not the hill." Then I hung up. Because this was not the hill. This was the funeral. The death of the last part of me that still thought they might choose me if the day was important enough. Marcus found me on the porch 20 minutes later. No tears, just sitting, holding my phone. He sat beside me, waited. After a while, I said, "My dad is not walking me." "I know. I don't want to walk alone." Marcus looked at me. "Then you won't." I looked up. "My dad has been practicing his tie knots since the engagement," Marcus said. "I watched him YouTube it twice last Sunday." "Your dad?" "He's been waiting for someone to ask." "I can't ask Frank that. It's too much." "Darce," Marcus said, "that man built you a bookshelf because one shelf leaned half an inch. He drives 40 minutes to fix hinges you did not ask him to fix. He set a place for you at Sunday dinner 2 months after we started dating and has never removed it." I looked toward the workshop, at the bookshelf, at the little hidden letters. D.I. Marcus said, "He has been showing up for you for 3 years. Let him show up once, where everyone can see." The next morning, I drove to Frank's house. He was in his workshop, sanding a rocking chair. Classic rock playing low. Sawdust on his apron. He looked up. "Hey, kiddo, coffee's on." "Frank." He set the sandpaper down. "My dad backed out of walking me down the aisle." He did not insult my father. He did not ask why. He did not make me explain. He only asked, "When do you need me?" That was the sentence. No hesitation. No, "Are you sure?" Just, "When do you need me?" "Saturday, 1 o'clock. I'll be there at noon." Then quieter, he said, "I've been waiting for someone to ask." I cried in the car on the way home. Not because my father had abandoned me, because someone else had not. That afternoon, Jeanette called. My best friend, maid of honor. She had run into Vanessa at the salon. "Your sister was running her mouth." "What did she say?" "She said your wedding is making everything about Darcy again." "Again?" That was her word. I waited. Jeanette sighed. She also said your little garden business is not even real work. There it was, my mother's sentence in Vanessa's mouth, passed down like a family recipe. Not real work? Not real enough to celebrate, but real enough to decorate their town. Real enough to build public gardens. Real enough to pay my bills without help. Vanessa was not hurt because Dad walking me would remind her of her failing marriage. She was hurt because my happiness existed outside her control. And control was the one thing Vanessa could not survive losing. Friday evening was the rehearsal dinner. Frank arrived 20 minutes early and helped the caterer move tables because he saw someone carrying one wrong and could not physically allow it. The barn venue looked beautiful. Open sides, string lights, copper vases, lavender, Queen Anne's lace, late dahlias, sprigs of rosemary, because my grandmother Eleanor always said rosemary was for remembrance. My parents did not come. Vanessa did not come. Nobody from my blood family came except Ruth Kellerman, my grandmother's best friend. Halfway through dinner, Ruth handed me a yellowed envelope. My grandmother's handwriting was on the front. Darcy. What is this? Eleanor gave it to me the week before she died, Ruth said. She told me to give it to you when you were getting married. I opened it later in the bridal suite. The letter was short. Darcy, when you read this, you are about to walk into one of the most important rooms of your life. I wish I could be there. I wish I could tell your mother to sit down and let you shine. I wish I could tell your father to look up and see you. But I know how this family works. So let me say what they may not. You have always been the one who builds. From that greenhouse to whatever life you are making now, you make things grow where nothing was. Do not wait for them to see it. The people who show up are your real family. I love you. Build something beautiful. Grandma Eleanor. I read it 3 times, then put it in the clutch I would carry the next day. Saturday morning, I woke at 5:15. My garden was covered in early fog. The lavender still held. Lavender always holds longer than you expect. There were 2 messages on my phone. Frank. Ready when you are, kiddo. Tie is straight. I checked 4 times. Marcus. See you at the end of the aisle. I'll be the one trying not to cry. I smiled. Then I got dressed. The venue was a converted barn on a hill outside Ridgewood. I had designed the flowers myself. Every arrangement. Every stem. The altar smelled like earth and October. Frank arrived at 10:45. New charcoal suit, navy tie, white shirt, rough hands hanging at his sides like they did not belong to the same outfit. When he saw me, he stopped. His eyes filled. Oh, kiddo. Don't cry, Frank. I just got my mascara done. I'm not crying, he said. Sawdust gets everywhere. Then he pulled out a small wooden box. Walnut. Hand-finished. Inside was a boutonniere made from dried oak leaves and baby's breath wrapped in twine. Made it this morning, he said. Store flowers didn't feel right for you. I pinned it to his lapel. You look beautiful, he said, then paused. No. You look strong. That was the right word. At 12:40, I peeked through the curtain. Marcus's side was full. My side was smaller, but not empty. Jeanette's family, my college friends, my greenhouse workshop women, several clients who had become friends, Ruth in the front row. Then I saw the back row. My father, my mother, Vanessa. They had come. For one stupid second, my heart lifted. Maybe they changed their minds. Then I saw my mother lean toward my father and whisper something. He nodded without looking up. Vanessa scanned the room like she was cataloging damage. They were not there for me. They were there so they could say they were there. Attendance as an alibi. The coordinator touched my arm. Ready? I opened my clutch, read one line from Grandma Eleanor's letter. The people who show up are your real family. I folded it. Put it back. Frank stepped beside me and offered his arm. His sleeve was crisp. His hand was rough, warm, steady. You good? He asked. I'm good. Then let's go show them what showing up looks like. The barn doors opened. 200 heads turned. And there we were. Frank Delaney and Darcy Ingram. A carpenter and a gardener. No shared blood. No shared last name. But both exactly where we were supposed to be. I did not look at the back row. I looked straight ahead at Marcus. His eyes were wet. His smile said everything. Frank walked slowly, steady, like he was carrying something fragile and important. Halfway down the aisle, the whispers started. People looked at Frank, then toward the back row, then understood. My father was sitting in the back while another man walked his daughter. The story told itself. We reached the altar. The officiant smiled. Who gives this woman in marriage? Frank cleared his throat. He is not a man who speaks to crowds. But that day, he did. Her family does. A pause. Then quieter. All of us who showed up. The room exhaled. Ruth sobbed. Jeanette's mascara was finished. Frank turned to me and squeezed my hands. Go get married, kiddo. Then he placed my hand in Marcus's. Marcus mouthed 2 words to him. Thank you. Frank sat in the front row. Center aisle. In the seat my father was supposed to fill. And I got married at 1:27 in the afternoon. The reception started at 2. At 3, Frank stood for his toast. I'm not a man of many words. Ask Marcus. He'll confirm. People laughed. But I'll say this. The first time Darcy came to my house, I had a fern dying on the windowsill. Had been dying for a year. She walked in, looked at it for 10 seconds, and told me I was overwatering. More laughter. I knew then that any woman who saves a dying plant without being asked is the kind of woman who makes a house better just by walking into it. He looked at me. I never had a daughter. God just made me wait a little longer. The room broke open. Applause. Tears. And in the back corner, my mother sat frozen. My father looked down. Vanessa stared at Frank like she had just realized the chair she stole was not the important one. Then Ruth stood. She walked to the microphone with Grandma Eleanor's letter in her hand. My stomach dropped. Darcy, Ruth said, your grandmother asked me to hold this letter until your wedding. I gave it to you yesterday, but there is one line I think this room deserves to hear. My mother's face changed. Ruth, she said sharply. Ruth ignored her. She read, the people who show up are your real family. Silence. Then Ruth looked directly at my father. Eleanor wrote that 11 years ago. My father looked up. She knew Richard. She knew who kept showing up and who kept being asked to understand. My mother stood. This is inappropriate. Ruth turned to her. No, Donna. What was inappropriate was letting your youngest daughter think she had to earn the attention you gave freely to everyone else. No one moved. Then Ruth placed the letter on the head table in front of me. I promised Eleanor I would stand with Darcy if the day ever came. She looked at Frank. Turns out I wasn't the only one. That was the moment the room fully understood. This was not drama. This was 11 years of truth arriving at the same table. My parents left before cake, quietly. No goodbye, no apology. My father stopped near the door and looked back once, not at me, at Frank, then at the empty chair in the front row where he should have been. Then he left. At the dessert table, my father came back inside alone, water glass in his hand, eyes red. That man, he said. I waited. He did a good job. His name is Frank. Richard nodded. Frank. Silence. Then, I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I looked at him. Sorry you missed it? Or sorry everyone saw? He flinched. Small, but real. Before he could answer, my mother appeared and took his elbow. Richard, come sit down. Then to me, low and sharp. Do not make a scene, Darcy. I picked up the cake knife. I'm not making a scene, Mom. I'm cutting cake. She walked away. He followed. He always followed. A letter came from my father a week later. Handwritten. Darcy, I should have walked you down the aisle. I knew it when Vanessa asked me not to. I knew it when your mother said it would be fine. I knew it when I sat in the back row and watched another man do what I was supposed to do. I have been choosing wrong your whole life and calling it keeping the peace. It was not peace. It was cowardice. Frank earned what I threw away. He showed up. I did not. I do not expect forgiveness. But I want you to know that the photo of you holding that tomato is still on my garage wall. I should have told you then. I am proud of you, Darcy. I always was. I was just too weak to say it out loud. Dad, I read it twice, then folded it and placed it beside Grandma Eleanor's letter. One from someone who saw me when it mattered. One from someone who saw me too late. I did not reply. Not then. Maybe someday. Maybe not. My name is Darcy Ingram. My father refused to walk me down the aisle because my sister told him not to. So a carpenter did it instead. And when those doors opened, everyone saw the truth. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shows up. Would you have forgiven your father after that letter? And what state are you watching from?